This next mini lecture is still within the area of functions. The specific topic is Introduction to Mathematical Modeling with Linear Functions. So the objective here is to basically write linear functions from 2 points that were given. So in a previous problem, in a lecture before this, in an Intro to Functions lecture, we talked about a swimming pool that was emptying. And the previous problem stated that Al has a pool that is filled to a depth of 80 centimeters of water. He's emptying it at a rate of 12 centimeters per minute. In the last lesson, we wrote this: y is equal to 80 minus 12x, right? And we use function notation as well. Instead of the y, we used f of x. I'm going to keep it as y equals 80 minus 12x for now. If I rewrote it as y equals negative 12x plus 80, that's the same thing, but the look of it is something that we may or may not be familiar with, but this is known as slope-intercept form. So this form has the y by itself on the left hand side, and in the middle we see the slope, the negative 12, and then the y-intercept, that constant that's at the end. Let's say we wanted to rearrange things a little bit and put the negative 12x on the left hand side. Well, how do I do that? So I would just need to add 12x to both sides. So I'm adding it to the right hand side and the left hand side, because what I do to one side I have to do to the other side. So I get 12x plus y is equal to 80. So now when we see the x term and the y term both on the left hand side and the constant on the right, this is known as standard form. So these are two equations of a line: slope-intercept form and standard form. So we're looking at slope-intercept form and standard form. Sometimes they may call it general form. There's another form of a line, and that's point-slope form. We're going to look at that later. I want to key in on the slope-intercept form, the y equals mx plus b form. Here, that m represents the slope, right? And I stated earlier that the b represents that y-intercept. B is the y-intercept. So you'll write it down as an ordered pair, 0 comma b, right? And that point is where it crosses the y-axis. So y equals mx plus b form is known as slope-intercept form, where the m, the value in front of the x, this will be some number, decimal fraction, or whatever that is, and that value will be the slope. And this constant at the end is the y-intercept. And if they want it as an ordered pair, the x value is 0, and whatever b is the y value. So for our particular problem of Al emptying the swimming pool, that negative 12 is the slope, and that 80 is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is where our graph crosses the y-axis, so it crossed the y-axis at 80. And for us, that's something specific, and that's just the meaning that tells us where the swimming pool started out at. It started out at 80 centimeters depth. The slope is negative 12. Well, if you recall, it said that it was losing water or emptying water at 12 centimeters of water every minute. So 12 centimeters per minute. So that really is written as 12. So let's find the slope, y-intercept, and an equation for some real-life scenarios. The first one states that Wayne is saving money for his senior class trip. In 2 months, he has $150. and in 5 months he has $315. So we're going to find the slope, the y-intercept, and then write an equation for this problem scenario. So we've all found slope before, right? We find slope with the slope formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now let's look at what they give us. They say in 2 months he has $150. Let's write that as the first order pair. And in 5 months he has $315. That'll be the second order pair. Well, order pairs are always x and y, right? So if this is the first order pair, we'll label those sub 1s. If this is the second one, we'll label those sub 2s. Now, plugging into the slope formula, y sub 2 is 315 minus y sub 1 is 150 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, which is 5 minus 2. All right, let's go ahead and do the math here. In calculating the slope, we get 165 over 3, which gives us 55. So the slope is 55. So now we're asked to find the y-intercept. So we're going to go ahead and use slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So we're going to substitute in for y, m, and x and solve for b. Well, y is the 150. If we go back up, that order pair y is 150, x is 2. So 150 is equal to, the slope is what we just found, 55, times x is 2. X is in that ordered pair up there, right? We're just pulling the x and y from what they've already given us, plus b. So we get 150 is equal to 55 times 2. That'll give us 110 plus b. And now we're just going to solve for b, right? 150 equals 110 plus b. We're subtracting 110 from both sides. So that gives us b is going to be equal to 40. So now we have the y-intercept. So now lastly it asks us to write an equation for this problem or scenario. Well, we're just going to use slope-intercept form to model this. So now here all we're going to plug in is the slope and y-intercept that we just found, and then we're done. So y is equal to 55x plus 40. So this is the equation that models this scenario of Wayne saving money for his senior class trip. In 2 months he has 150, and in 5 months he has 315. So it's telling us that the rate of change of his money is about $55 per month. Alright, our next example says that a summer enrichment program charges a registration fee and also a daily amount. The total bill for 12 days is $338. The total bill for 19 days is $506. So we're asked to write an equation for this problem. So, as in the previous problem, there were 3 main steps. The first step was to find the slope, the second step was to find the y-intercept, and then the third step was to place in the slope and the y-intercept into slope-intercept form, and then you'll have your answer. So 3 main steps. So we're going to follow those 3 steps. Our first step is to go ahead and find the slope. Before we even do that, we have to actually initialize the 2 ordered pairs. So I would look at it and it's telling us that 12 days is 338. So I'll say 12 comma 338 is the first ordered pair. And then 19 days is $506. So that'll be the second ordered pair. Well, this is the first ordered pair they give us. So these will be the x sub 1 and y sub 1. This is the second order pair, so that's x sub 2 and y sub 2. So we said the first step is to find the slope, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So in plugging those in based on what I was given in the initial problem, I have 506 minus 338 over the 19 minus 12. So then I'll go ahead and just use a calculator for these really large numbers. So the 506 minus the 338 gets me the 168, and then the 19 minus the 12 gets me the 7. So The 168 divided by 7 leaves me with the 24. So that's my slope. All right. So the next part of the problem, we want to always find the y-intercept. So we're going to use the y equals mx plus b and just plug in everything that they gave us. They gave us the y, initially up here is 338. We just found the slope, that's the m, which is 24. And they gave us the x above, which is 12. And we're solving for b, which is the y-intercept, because that was the second thing we did on the last problem. So we get 338 is equal to 24 and 12. That product gives us 288 from my calculator. And now I need to just solve for b. So to get b by itself, I'm going to remove this 288 from this side and take it to the other side. And then b is going to be 50. So now that's my y-intercept. And as you recall, the last step was to just fill in for m and b. So we have y equals mx plus b again. So our m is what we just found earlier, 24, and our b is 50. So y equals 24x plus 50. So we're given that, but what does that really tell us? So if the problem talks about a registration fee and a daily amount, it looks to me that that registration fee is the y-intercept, which is $50. The daily amount is $24 per day. So that's where the 24, the slope, comes in. So in creating these types of equations and modeling like this, we're not just solving the math problem. This equation is giving us a lot of information to this entire situation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care.